Hey everybody, welcome back to the page. I hope everybody had a chance to watch the video from yesterday. It was pretty good stuff on there. It went for about 20 minutes, and I'm hoping to give you guys some great content today too. So like I said, we are going to be talking about target marketing today, and it is not glamorous, guys. I'm going to bring this up on my page as well. So I'm not looking off to be weird. I'm going to bring it up here because I don't often see what's happening on the actual phone. So we're going to be talking about target marketing, and it's not glamorous, but I guarantee that it is one of the biggest problems with a lot of small businesses. Usually they're either getting it wrong, if they're doing it at all, they've completely ignored it, or they just have decided that it's not something that they need for their business, right? So it's really kind of crazy. So we're going to go over all of that kind of stuff today. Now, the walkthrough for Facebook live streams, there's a little bit of a lag behind everything. So if you guys do have questions, make sure you post them below, and I will do my best to get to them as I see them popping on. And I don't always get the notifications to see who exactly is joining us when we're live here. So when you do come on, make sure you post a little note about who you are so that it does show up. Give it a like or a heart, and those ones are always pop up for me, and I can give a little shout out to you. So, for those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Dawn Martinello, and I run the dawnmartinello.com website. And what I do over there is just basically teach people about online branding, specifically to network marketers, but really everything that I teach is applicable to any kind of online business. And what I want for people is to be able to stand up and stand out in crowded niches and crowded industries. So that's kind of a little bit about what I am and what I do. So back to today, we are going to be talking target marketing. Yay, it's exciting. I find it exciting. Hopefully by the end of this short little video, you guys will have a little bit more motivation to get started with it. So target marketing, I used to do these seminars all the time, and we would always start off by figuring out what target marketing is. And inevitably what would happen is everybody would give me a list of all of the things that they thought target marketing was, and it was all demographics, right? So where did they live? How old were they? Are they married? Those kind of things. But it's so much more than that. And in fact, when we don't take into consideration anything beyond the actual demographics of who people are, we really start to see the target marketing become ineffective, and really it just kind of, it doesn't work for you, right? So if you find that you are getting traffic to your website or to your Facebook page, even any of your social media accounts, it doesn't have to be a website. If you find that you're getting some kind of traffic there, but people are not buying, they are not converting in any way, chances are it's probably your target marketing. So let's go through some of this stuff. The reason that it's so important, guys, is that we try to encompass everybody in our target market. I did it when I started. I had it totally wrong, totally screwed up all of my target marketing. So we try to make sure that we have all of these people, because what I find what happens is either we're afraid, okay, we're afraid to lower the amount of people that we can reach because we may not be as successful, or we feel that, you don't want to exclude anybody because somebody out there is going to need to hear what I have to say. They're going to need this product. So what the feeling is that if we go as big as possible, then we're going to have as many people as possible to be in our kind of tribe. And it actually works in reverse. So when you think about it, if you're talking about entrepreneurs, okay, that was my target market when I first started. If you are talking about entrepreneurs, then what ends up happening is you might have somebody who's 20 years old and you might have somebody who's 50 years old. The problem is, how do you talk to both of those people? They have different language that they're going to use. A younger crowd is going to talk in a very different way. My dad, God bless him, but, he's in, 70, and he tells me all the time, you shouldn't swear on your page. That's inappropriate. It's not businesslike. But the market that I have, do people get offended sometimes? They do. But the market that I have, the people that I push my message out to, they're kind of okay with that. But if I was marketing to more people my dad's age, and my dad was more my target market, I could not get away with things like that. They also have different triggers. So this is where we get into a little bit more of what more is target marketing. Because remember what I said, it's not just demographics. It's also psychographics. So I'm not going to get into the whole spiel about everything to deal with target market. There is a ton of information that you guys can find online. I've got a boot camp. There's several programs that are out there that can get you to where you need to go when it comes to all of this stuff. But psychographics is basically anything beyond demographics, okay? It's the triggers. What do they want out of life? What's going to make them buy? So when you're thinking about that 20-year-old and the 50-year-old, they're going to have different triggers, right? They're going to have different reasons for building their business. They're going to have different reasons for why they buy different things. You can't speak to everybody at the same time. Now, that is not to say that you can't have like sales pages that talk to different types of customers or things like that. But really, when you're talking about your core message, when you're putting everything out there, it really has to speak to a very specific target market, a very specific niche, okay? So back a little bit to my story. When I started my virtual assistant company, one of the things that I had to do was create this business plan, a full-on business plan to get into the program that I was looking at. And part of that was doing our target market. And my theory was that because I'm dealing with online stuff, I could really target everybody, anybody who was an entrepreneur with an online business anywhere in the world. So if there's 5 billion people out there that fit into that little category, I only had to get like 0.00001% of that category. And that's a lot less scary than trying to say, you know what, I might only have 500,000 people that I can promote my stuff to, or 1 million people. It sounds so much better when we think I only have to get this teeny tiny small portion of people. I'm definitely going to be successful if I can just do that. The problem is, again, how do you talk to these people? How do you really portray what your company and your brand and what you are all about? How do you specify all of the value that you're bringing to the table? You can't, not when you're trying to talk to that many people. So, I ended up being really lucky in the beginning because I hustled in terms of finding new clients, and I was able to be successful in that first year. But I had a lot of clients that I did not like, okay? It's sucky to say, but there was a lot of clients that I would have been just okay if they would have said, you know what, this isn't for me, I'm out of here, because they weren't the right target market for me. They were people who, they were asking me to do things that I didn't enjoy doing. They were not the right fit for me in terms of a personality. And it was a lot of clashing in that way. So even though I had the success of gaining these customers and being able to keep them, it really went back to, is this really what I want? Is it really the type of service that I want to be known for? And the answer was no, not really. So over the past 8 years, I've had to change how I do different things. I've had to narrow down my niche. I've had to really focus on who my target market is, because it's not everybody that's out there. It's just not. So those are kind of the things that can go wrong when you do have the wrong target marketing. What we tend to see in our business and don't attribute to being target market, if you've got people who are showing up to your website or your Facebook page or anything, okay, if they are showing up in some way, but they're not engaging with you, or they're not converting, they're not opting in for your lead magnet or onto your newsletter list, if they're not making sales, if they're not making you any money, chances are it's probably your target market that's off. You're not being able to speak to them in the right way. So when I used to do these seminars for the government program for new entrepreneurs, that was one of the things that I told them. It's the number one reason that businesses fail. If you don't know how to tell me what you have and why it's good for me, I'm not going to open up my wallet, I'm not going to buy anything, and you're going to be out of business within a year, right? That's what happens. So people always are asking, how do I figure out who my target market is? The first way you can do it, guys, if you have any kind of a client base, anybody who's on a newsletter list, start to survey them. Just send them out with a short survey. Make sure you do some research on the type of survey questions you're going to ask, because you might only get one chance at somebody actually filling these things out, and you want to make sure it's going to be worthwhile for you. So make sure you do a little bit of research to figure out what kind of questions are going to be really important to ask them, so you have a good understanding of what's going on inside their head. Okay, we used to do this little exercise in the seminars where they would have all of the demographics about me, but they would have to pick one thing that would make me buy their product. And every single one of them failed because I don't buy because I'm a certain age. I don't buy because of the amount of money that I have. I don't buy because I'm a mother. There's so much more that goes into it. So those are the kind of questions that you really need to ask people when you're trying to figure out who your target market is. Okay. You can also kind of just wing it. And this is trial and error. It's what ended up happening with me. And when you're just starting off, it might be something you're going to have to do unless you have people that you can go and talk to and do an in-person interview. And those work really good too, by the way, guys. More so than even just sending out a survey. Surveys are quick and easy. You can set it up with SurveyMonkey, and it's free and it's simple to do, and people are easy to click that button and answer a few questions. But if you can actually sit down with somebody, or you can get on a phone call with them or a Skype call with them and start asking them those same questions, that's going to be way more interesting for you, way better results for you. And the trick to that is really just answering everything with, tell me more about that, okay? Because people often try to be very succinct in their answers. They don't want to go too far off the question. They're afraid that the call's going to take too long, so they'll be very succinct about things. You want to really start to get them opening up. You want to ask open-ended questions. So when they respond with something and you say, tell me more about that, they start to go on and on and on about it. So that can actually be the most fruitful way of getting information. But sometimes you do kind of just have to wing it. And what you can kind of gather from that is figuring out what can you do, and not just anything, guys. Don't just do something because it's something to do. If you hate doing transcription work and you're a virtual assistant, don't answer to anything that's going to be transcription, right? Why offer something that you're going to hate doing? Is one of the reasons that we start our businesses is quite possibly because either you can't or you don't want to be working in an office. I don't want to be sitting down at my home office doing work for people that suck. I'm lucky now that I've got great clients, so I can say this, but there's sucky clients out there. And they might be awesome people and they might be perfect for somebody else, but I want to work with people that I don't like, and I don't want to work with people that doing things that just doesn't light me up. So make sure you're looking at things that you actually want to do. Okay, what kind of person do you want to work with? Think about what kind of personality traits do they have. Okay, you can think about all of those things, and then just the stuff that you love. Okay, put that all together and try to piece together a target market, a client avatar from that. Okay, at that point, it's really going to come down to testing. And really, when it comes to testing, guys, there's no shortcut. There's no definitive answer for things. If people are buying it, it's working. If they're not, there's something wrong. And really, there's only 3 things that's ever going to be wrong. If you've got traffic, even if you don't have traffic, if you've got something for sale, whether it be a product or a service or anything like that, if people are not buying, it's either because you don't have the traffic showing up, in which case there's things you can do to achieve that traffic. You're either offering something that's really shitty, okay, or maybe it's overpriced. If you're doing transcription work and you're charging $5 an hour, you're not going to sell that, right? So there could be just a problem with what you're actually offering. But the third and most common case that people are not buying, it's not what they want. It's not the right target market for what it is you're offering. You might have a viable service, a perfect product. You might have everything put together in the perfect way. But if you cannot give the value and explain the value to your customer, they're not going to buy it, right? So you've got the wrong target market on there. And then, this is something that I always see people do too. Don't ask your family and friends. Okay, they're not the people to ask whether or not this is going to be a good idea, or would you pay for something like that? And would you pay for something like that is just, it's not really a great question anyway. Because when it comes down to it, really, if they're not paying the cash for it, if they're not willing to open up their wallets and pay for it, there's really no point in having anything there, right? So Don't bother with your family and friends. Those people are there to be your cheerleaders. They're the ones that are there to help you pick yourself up and dust yourself off at the end of the day when something didn't work out very well. The people you need to ask are the people who are actually going to buy it. Because I know if I go to my mom or my dad and I say, you know what, they've got this new product that I'm going to be releasing next month. Let me tell you all about it and how much I'm going to charge. They're going to tell me that it's great because that's what they're there for. You really need to start talking to people who are not involved with you personally. You need to find the people who are actually going to be opening up their wallets and finding out if they're not. And again, if they're not making sales, look to your traffic, look to the actual product and the pricing of it, and more importantly, look to your target marketing. So, target market, to go over a really quick recap of everything. Target market, it does include your demographics. It's important to have, but more importantly is the psychographics of everything. You're going to be able to talk to them in the right way, which is going to be more sales for you, easier sales for you. And you really need to figure out how you're going to find it. So one of the tips that I do have for you guys today, if you are not sure, you've got an idea of who you want to have, but you're not sure kind of what these people are like, where they're finding them, you can find quite often online, either a really big website or really big magazines will have media packages, or they'll have their rate cards where they talk about the advertising. Especially with magazines, these people spend a shit ton of money figuring out who their target market is. So when you go to them and you look at their rate cards, they have all of the information about their target market, who shows up and reads this thing, who shows up to their website. They've spent all of the money and the legwork for you, and you can kind of piggyback on that and apply it to your own target market. So you can look at that one. But just remember, guys, it is not everybody, okay? Don't make that mistake. Don't take a shortcut through things because it just doesn't work, okay? If you look at things that, if I've got 100,000 people that are showing up at my website every single month and I'm getting a conversion of 5% out of that, and you can live off of that money, that's wonderful. But the problem when you're not looking at your target market properly is how much better could it be, okay? Because every person that shows up is a resource, whether it be your time or needing to build a bigger team or having more web hosting, because, you start off on those shared sites that are, $10 a month. You kind of have to go up a little bit more when you've got all of these people showing up to your website. So you really want to make sure that you're really getting the people in there that really matter. So if you've got 100,000 people showing up, 5% of them convert and you're happy with that, what would it feel like if you had 50,000 people showing up, but you had a 20% conversion rate? Okay, you don't need as many resources. It's not going to be as tough of a sale, okay, because you've always got to look at the people you're leaving behind. If you have 100,000 people that show up, and 100 people buy, how many people did you not sell to? How many people was it not a right fit for? You want to reduce that number. Eventually it's going to scale, but you don't want to worry about the vanity numbers. Who cares if you have 500,000 people on your newsletter list if nobody buys anything? Because that's not going to sell anything. It's not going to make you any money. It's going to look good on paper, and then that's about it. Okay, so make sure that you guys are putting the time into this. Like I said, there is a target market bootcamp that I sell, that I walk everybody through it, but this is nothing that you can't find online if you want to do it yourself. It's how I built my business. When I started off, I had no training. I had no formal education. I just trial and error, tried to figure things out, reading millions of different blog posts and going through different courses on different things, and eventually piece together what actually worked. And that is a definitive way that you can go. When and this goes for anything that you guys, I'm going to kind of go a little bit off track here, but this goes for anything that you guys are going to be buying online. There's nothing that you can't figure out on your own. There's really nothing. There's nothing that you can't go and figure out for free or almost free. So don't feel like you are sucked into having to buy anything, okay? Because really, it's really just a shortcut, guys. That's all it is. It's a shortcut to get to the finish line. But like I said, that was a little bit of a tangent, and I apologize. But so target market, I want you guys to spend some time figuring this out. It's much more than just figuring out what your client avatar is. That's the starting point. But then you got to figure out how to talk to them. And in order to do that, you've got to figure out what their pain points are. Where are they stumbling with things? What do they want? And that's what you're really looking for when it comes to target marketing. And I promise you guys, if you do that work, that you are going to have so much more success in everything you do in your business. So I'm going to wrap it up for today unless you guys have any questions. A few quick notes. I am doing a webinar on December the 15th. It's going to happen at noon Eastern Standard Time. You guys can register. I'll put a link down below for you guys on that. This one is going to be geared for network marketers, and I'm going to talk about how to recruit online, how to gain more customers and more team members in less time with less effort. So it's going to be a really great webinar. It's something you guys have been asking me for a long time. So if that is something that interests you, be sure to register for that, because I am going to have a ton of free content on there for you guys. And tomorrow I'm going to be back live here on the page. I am going to be talking about getting people to interact with you, whether it be with your business or on your Facebook page. That's really what we're kind of looking for, right? Is having that engagement. So how do I get people to engage with me when I'm sending them an email? How do I get them to engage with me on my Facebook page or my Twitter page? And how do I get people just to engage with my business in general, to actually show interest for those kind of things? So that's going to happen tomorrow right here on the Facebook page at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. The webinar happens on December 15th at noon Eastern Standard Time. And like I said, guys, if you have any other questions, you can always share them with me through email or on Facebook. That's why I'm doing this. These are the questions that you guys are sending to me, and I figured this is a lot easier than trying to put together a blog post where I can just answer all of your questions live and get everything taken care of all at one time. So until tomorrow, guys, I will talk to you later.